Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, members of the MAG Management Committee. This meeting is now called to order. For those around the table, please turn on your microphone when speaking. For those participating via Zoom, please state your name when making a comment or asking a question. The MAG public comment process allows members of the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction. If you'd like to comment at today's meeting, please complete the request to speak form. MAG staff can assist with any questions you may have. If you parked in the garage, parking validators are available on the information table in the hallway. If you purchase a transit ticket to come to the meeting, please see staff for a ticket. Hearing assisted devices are available from MAG staff. We'll now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the Management Committee, I call your name in alphabetical order. Please respond if you are present. Patrick Banger.
Present.
Thank you. Eric Godinho as proxy for Jeff Barton.
Here.
Thank you. Jean Blackman.
Here.
Thank you. Chair Chris Brady.
Here.
Thank you. Andrew Ching. Ron Corbin.
Here.
Thank you. Dan Cotterman.
Here.
Thank you. Henry Darwin.
Here.
Thank you. Crystal Dykes. Stephen Erno.
Here.
Thank you. Jeff Graves as proxy for Lisa Garcia.
Here.
Thank you. Bruce Gardner.
Here.
Thank you. Rachel Goodwin.
Here.
Thank you. Ben Bitter as proxy for Rick Horst.
Here.
Thank you. Rosa Inchasti.
Present.
Thank you. Michael Preston as proxy for Suzanne Jones. Jeff Kulaga. Thank you. Leo Liu.
Here.
Thank you. Reyes Medrano. Jessica Mefford Miller.
Present.
Thank you. Jennifer Jack as proxy for Brian Myers.
Present.
Thank you. Grady Miller.
Here.
Thank you. Gary Neese. Kevin Phelps. Calvin Pilcher. Jen Pekorski. Bryant Powell.
Here.
Thank you. Lynette Reed.
Present.
Thank you. Dale Webush as proxy for Jim Thompson.
Here.
Thank you. Jennifer Toth.
Here.
Thank you. Kathy Valenzuela.
Here.
Thank you. Matthew Williams. Bob Wingenroth.
Here.
Thank you. Joshua Wright.
Here.
Thank you. Is there anyone that I missed? Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our next item is call to the audience. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda. Informational items or items on the agenda for discussion and not for action. So I think I've received one request to the call to audience. Diane, will you come forward, please?
Good morning. I'm Diane Barker. I live downtown and part of the MAG system. And it just goes to show that Kelly's system of signing in by your phone works because you are called me up here. I know some of the MAG has heard my story about the transit system in my phone, but I want to share that again. I had person come over to me and say, hey, that was a good Samaritan that returned your phone. Some of you know that my lost bicycle has not reappeared, but when a couple weeks ago on a Friday, I went up to the Joyce Myers presentation on Dreamy Draw and came back on the 90, and I at 10:30 at night on a Friday, Sunny Slope Transit Center had a lot of buses there and people. And I see the zero and I want to go home. And so I'm hurrying to catch that going southbound. When I get home with no phone, well, I go into Verizon you're not getting your phone back. Nobody gets their phone back, and tried to sell me, took the SIM card out, went through a lot. Come Monday, I go downstairs, there's a ticket center. And the lady says, well, I'm going to go back and start a few phones that, back there. She goes, yep. She saw my picture. I got my phone back. And it was disappointing to Verizon. But anyway, if they want to keep me as a customer, I guess, have to have another perk. What I would like to say, I did get to go to the Valley Metro meeting. And in regards, what I'm after now is our government and contractors upholding open meetings laws. I was not allowed into a meeting, and it was on January 25th up here at the light rail. And I do use the light rail, and I thought that what they put in the bridge and everything, it really looked like Felder Williams had worked quite a while to bring that thing. It should be magnificent if they do it right up at Metro Center. But they had a meeting that I should have been allowed in, and I got dismissed. Too bad. It was cold too. There is a Title VI, and it's civil rights, and it goes not only from federal highway, but federal transit. And there is a system that all of you for the city of Phoenix, Valley Metro, and MAG, they need to adhere to. And I'm after your renewals on contractors because, I see here just this month, Kiewit got like $3 million, and I'll be back. But they're the people that paid for that party that I was disallowed in. $7,000, and Jacobs, they're also, we can be chummy, but we can't be gift giving.
All right. Staff, have we received any online comments from call the audience?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did not receive any online comments for this agenda item or any item on today's agenda.
All right, thank you very much. All right, proceed to item 4. Are there any informational items to be presented at this time? Oh, okay. Having none, let's now proceed to item 5, which is approval of the consent agenda. Items 5A through 5E are on the consent agenda. Does any member of the committee have questions or request a presentation on any of these items? Okay, hearing none, prior to approval of the consent agenda, there is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on any item on the consent agenda. Diane, you want to come back?
I get quite a bit of information from MAG. And fortunately, I had an Ohio education and we were taught to read. And the other reason why I'm here, I tell people I'd rather be dancing, is that in grade school in Ohio, we had problems of democracy, and we were told that we're supposed to participate with our government. So if you think maybe I'm taking your time, this is what my teachers in Ohio, and guess what? We have Jessica here that was a Buckeye, so she may have gotten a little bit of that, the Valley Metro CEO, a little of that education. What's happening, Valley Metro's been responsible, according to Mr. Bullen, very, very good minutes. I learned a lot from his presentations. It has been responsible for the TLCP through the end of 400, but now we're looking at Proposition 479, and it's going to go to MAG. MAG also is, I understand, handling a lot more money directly than it ever did. So I'm asking for MAG to get your civil rights programs up and your verification on the renewals for subcontractors, that they do follow the rules, such as what I was talking about, the gift giving. I personally don't know. I guess I could go to the Goldwater Institute and find out how much money is considered a gift that is illegal when you're dealing with contractors in government. The thing is, and another thing, we have a lot of sports fans. I bet most of you do like college football. I do. And I was told by a fellow, he says, guess what? We beat Ohio State. And, and I says, yeah, and guess what? I am for competition. I said, congratulations. We're working to be better. This is what I'm saying. We have some long-term contractors through our government locally that have been here. I've seen some RFPs some years ago where the inside people from government were judging them. Some of the contracts were written to favor an incumbent. We need to have free competition in our contracts. And I want to see that you're overseeing them for our civil rights, or it'll probably be on beyond me. Some of these people are going to start filing violations on you.
All right, we're ready for a motion to approve the consent items 5A through 5E. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
We have a motion from Andrew,
Second.
second from Lynette. All right. Sorry. Okay, we have our motion from Andrew and a second from Lynette. We will have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. We need to see the faces of everyone to participate in the voice vote. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their camera, staff will conduct a roll call vote. It's a shaming vote, but that's what it is anyway. Staff will only call on those virtual participants who did not turn on their camera. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote so that staff can count the people's names whose cameras are not on. All right. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. Please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their cameras?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All the cameras are on and the motion passes.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. All right, that is the approval of the consent. We'll now move to item 6. Item 6 is this item is on the agenda for information discussion and will be presented by Deputy Executive Director Amy St. Peter. Amy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, for this opportunity to present an update on the Regional Heat Relief Network efforts. These efforts are only possible thanks to a multitude of really talented partners throughout the region and throughout this state. We'd like to recognize that the governor's office just last week issued their extreme heat preparedness plan. Also, the city of Phoenix has a nationally recognized heat response and mitigation office as directed by David Handula. And of course, Maricopa County has invested significant effort, time, and resources into the Regional Heat Relief Network. I'm joined today by Dr. Rebecca Sonnenschein from Maricopa County Public Health Department to help with this presentation today. I'd also like to acknowledge our own team members here at MAG, Cleo, Sapna, Matt, and Kelly Williams for their efforts within MAG to assist with these important. The purpose of today's presentation then is to offer background and data on these Heat Relief Network efforts, to share with you some emerging roles and best practices, and then to invite your increased participation in these life-saving efforts. Next slide, please. The efforts began back in 2005 when an unprecedented number of people died during the heat that July. So at the time, the chair of our continuum of care here at MAG was then Councilmember Greg Stanton. He very quickly galvanized the region to address this issue. He convened stakeholders and started to strengthen the region's response to the extreme heat and taking steps to keep people safe throughout that heat. The network has evolved from that initial birth as a crisis-oriented response with volunteering agencies who open their doors to help people. And it has evolved into and continues to evolve into a more sophisticated system driven by data and with a stronger infrastructure. And Dr. Sonnenschein will be talking about those efforts momentarily. MAG's role always has been and continues to be mapping out the heat relief sites and to raising awareness about these critical issues. Next slide, please. This is a map of last year's sites. So these are hydration stations, cooling centers, respite centers, donation sites. All of these were available last summer. We're hoping to increase the number of sites this summer, and we need your help to make that happen. We will open up the application process for the sites for the 2024 season in April next month, and we'll be releasing the map of the sites beginning May 1st, and we'll continue to update the app map throughout the summer as more and more sites come online. At this point, though, I'd like to transition over to Dr. Sonnenschein and to the next slide, please, and she'll talk about the county's significant investments in this space.
Thank you, Amy, and good afternoon, Chairman and members of the committee. So I wanted to share with you actually data that has not been put out publicly yet. We had a tragic record last year in heat-related deaths, as any of you who were here are well aware of, with 645 heat-related deaths last year. And that's 52% higher than our record the year before. So we are seeing these rapid increases, and we know that some people are disproportionately affected by the heat. About half of all of the heat-related deaths are in people who are experiencing homelessness. In fact, people who are experiencing homelessness are 500 times more likely to die from heat than somebody who has a home or a house. We also know that other populations are, next slide, please. Other populations are also disproportionately affected by heat, specifically our seniors. And the majority, about 60% of all heat-related deaths are over 50. And this includes people experiencing homelessness, as well as those who are housed, and particularly those in manufactured homes. In fact, among people who die indoors from heat in Maricopa County, about 1 in 6 live in a manufactured home, which is far more than are represented who live in manufactured homes in reality. Next slide, please. So this is a very complicated map. But what it includes are the cooling center and respite centers that we had last year. Additionally, we have heat-related deaths from 2023 and 2022 represented, as well as homeless outreach sites. And we want to highlight that when we are determining where heat relief is needed, we look at all of these factors to identify it. And as the number of people dying from the heat continue to increase, we have an opportunity to shift from a volunteer, decentralized emergency response to a strategic infrastructure driven by data, such as the data represented here on this map. However, we do need resources to build this infrastructure and make it sustainable. And this includes getting better data on what heat relief efforts are working and what may not be working as well. We need centralized and coordinated decision-making and ancillary wraparound services such as transportation and case management, and particularly call center support, so that when people need to find heat relief resources like a cooling center or a way to get their air conditioning repaired in the heat of summer, that we have someone where they can call and everybody knows that number. Lastly, we need formal agreements and funding to staff these heat relief network sites. So we have some immediate needs that we'd like to share with you today, and also some longer term needs. So we do want to share with you what the county is doing this upcoming heat season. We've been very lucky to identify some funding from our county that has enabled us to work with multiple municipalities to build more heat relief network sites. And based on the 2023 Cooling Center evaluation that was done by Dr. Jessica Bell and our entire heat relief team, honestly, it was a whole department-wide effort. What we learned is that people who visit cooling centers often walk to the cooling centers, and they often walk there, and that they would like them to be open later in the day, specifically from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. So what we've done is we've worked with the municipalities to support cooling centers that are open later until 7 p.m. We're working on an RFP to have transportation and a call center so people can call and identify resources where they can go to get out of the heat, and what they can do if their air conditioning breaks or needs to be replaced. Additionally, we're going to put out an additional RFP to work with our community, faith-based, and other partners to make sure that they have an opportunity to expand those hours to meet the needs of the people who are most vulnerable to heat. Next slide, please. MAG, Maricopa County, the city of Phoenix and Arizona are seen as national leaders in addressing heat. And what we do here can be shared as a best practice nationally and beyond. We need all of our communities and our partners to consider how they can support us in building this new infrastructure so that we can save the most lives possible. So what we're hoping community partners can do is support funding to provide services that we mentioned earlier, such as case management, meals, transportation, and potentially supporting a call center so that everyone has a number they can call if they run into trouble in the heat. Opening a new site or extending the hours or days on an existing site, particularly on those weekends. Sundays seems to be the hardest day to staff cooling centers. Hosting a donation drive to collect water, socks, hats, cooling towels, sunscreen, and funding, and promoting this network to the public. We learned from our survey that a lot of people, even who were at cooling centers, didn't know that they were cooling centers, and many of our general public aren't aware that these resources exist. So lastly, as far as long-term needs, we do need a sustainable source of funding for this infrastructure, particularly for a call center, so that we can know year after year there will be a number where people can dial and identify where the nearest cooling center is and other heat-related resources. And I want to invite Ms. St. Peters back up. And thank you very much for all of your attention and support. And
Thank you very much. We want to thank you for all of the support that you've given to the network since 2005. You've made centers available to the public, to people in need, and you've helped people to live safely over those summer months, over those very hot summer months. So we're hoping to have your continued support. I want to thank you for your time and attention today. And I'd like to invite County Manager Pokorski to offer a few comments as well, as if you wish.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy, and thank you, Dr. Sonnenschein. And also thanks to MAG. We've appreciated the partnership over since almost 20 years, I think 2005. And this year we're using a combination of ARPA funds and public health infrastructure grant funds. And I feel fortunate that we do have the study that helped us identify where the real needs were. And we're hoping by identifying those gaps and then changing the requirements that we have for cooling centers, that we can help prevent some of the deaths that occurred last year. We think they may have occurred because we had some gaps in the system or in our process for operating them. So we're hopeful that with this new plan and strategic approach to funding the cooling centers, that we can prevent more deaths. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, that concludes our presentation. We're happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Yes.
I saw
Brian.
Yes, thank you. I saw Phoenix was opening up libraries maybe
Mhm.
to 10 o'clock at night. It's very impressive. We're trying to learn about that. Any other places or locations where community centers make a lot of sense that in the region? The coolest place ever in Apache Junction is at City Pool. And don't know if that makes any sense too to stay later, but I'm open for innovative ideas on trying to do more. It's just money, right? And trying to staff them.
Absolutely. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Pella, and members of the MAG Management Committee, thank you very much for that idea. When we look at what kinds of facilities have been open before as the sites, that includes libraries, senior centers, community centers, fire stations, police stations, and yes, pools. So when you're looking at possible areas where you could host folks, it's a wide range. It of course needs to be air conditioned. It needs to be staffed, but the level of staffing can vary depending on if you're just handing out water, accepting water, if you're open during the day, during your regular business hours, if you're open overnight. So whatever creativity, support can be brought to bear, please let us know. We're happy to assist you. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a question about the assistance for folks that maybe don't have the financial means to fix AC units. I mean, I think you'd mentioned that a lot of them actually are happening in the homes that I would assume probably lower income homes. And the heat relief stations are amazing. I just look at also those folks that maybe don't want to leave their house and that's where they end up in this. So I'm just curious how that kind of functions and if there's additional need or opportunities in that area.
Thank you, Mr. Erno and Chairman and members of the committee. What we're finding is that about 1 in 4 deaths are indoor heat-related deaths, and the majority of people who die indoors are seniors, and actually the majority are 65 and over. So we do have a lot of concern about people who are homebound. One of the things that we strongly recommend is that people check on their friends and their neighbors and family who are homebound, particularly if they're seniors, and just do wellness checks. We also know that people who die indoors, the majority of them have air conditioning, but in most cases, it's either not functioning or they don't have it turned on at all. So what we're doing is working closely with Maricopa County Human Services and our call center to make sure that all the different options, and there are different community-based organizations as well as government systems that supply funding for people to either fix their air conditioning or even replace it completely. And we're going to make sure that that call center has all of those resources. So it's really important that for people who are homebound, they have this number of the call center so that they can call and get connected to those resources. And a lot of these programs do favor seniors and families with children.
Thank you. I know that that's the hard part probably too, is getting the word out about those programs, because I think you hear a lot about the heat relief stations, but the folks that need that kind of help, I'm not sure that, and I'm not sure what the answer is for that. Of course, I know you guys are doing a great job with that, but just figuring out other ways to get that message out as well.
Thank you very much.
you.
And Mr. Erno, Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee, we always do issue a press release, so we can be sure to highlight that point in the press release this year. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, I would just highlight, and part of that is through the Department of Economic Security. Their low-income home energy assistance program is a great resource. So whatever we can do from the state to help spread that word as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online? All right, thank you very much. All right, we'll proceed to item 7. This item is on the agenda for information discussion and will be presented by Transportation Data Program Manager Wang Yong.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the members of Management Committee. My name is Wang Zhang. So thanks for the opportunity to give you guys a short presentation regarding the update of the traffic trends and conditions in our region in the last few years. MAC has been, collecting all kinds of necessary data to help us monitor and track the traffic trends in the region, particularly since COVID. And we see this as a really crucial information for all kinds of transportation planning and engineering studies needs. In the last couple of years, there has been some notable changes in the traffic conditions, such as traffic volumes. I'm sorry, I tried to talk louder. Such as traffic volume, truck travel, and congestion patterns, and those affecting the level of service on our regional roads. So let's visit some details today. First of all, we try to look at traffic volumes level, and we are using the first week of March, right before the COVID 2020, as 100% as a baseline, and we compare everything else to that. As you can see, the purple line is what's going on with our traffic volume level in the region. In 2019, pretty much in a similar level. There is a slightly bump into the 2020 early. This is 2020, COVID happened, and then traffic volume was much lower. And it took our region about 12 months, to be exact, the March of 2021, for us to observe the similar amount of traffic volume on the roadway systems in our region. As you can see, the traffic volume back to the pre-COVID condition from the March of 2021 and the gradually stated increase. That's 2022. And that's 2023, last year. As you can see, particularly in the peak travel season in the spring and the fall of each year, for example, in 2023, we're looking at about 10% more traffic traveling on our road in our region. And we also had a pretty strong kickoff in the beginning of 2024 as well. So that's a condition we monitor in the last couple of years in our regional roadways. Similar concept, we take the first week of the heavy truck travel in 2020 March as a baseline 100%. We compare the annual average of the truck travel in the last 4 to 5 years. So it's continually increasing even through the year of the 2020. We monitor there's even more truck travel in the year of 2020. And the highest year we monitor is 2022. And the steady drop, but getting also stable in last year, 2023, and the first 2 months of this year. So we're at about 20 to 30% higher in terms of heavy truck travel on our regional roadways. So let's take a look at the congestion, which could be a little bit different than the traffic volume patterns and trends. So, we know the 2020 in blue, after COVID, there's almost no congestion. Everybody can travel pretty much in a matter of minutes from point A to point B. And the congestion, particularly on our freeway system, stay low in 2021 and 22. And it took 3 years till the March of 2023 that we started to notice similar level of congestion in our regional freeway network as compared to pre-COVID condition. That is being shown as a line in turquoise. And also in last year, 2023, I'm sorry, we see 2 distinct peak travel seasons in the spring as well as in the fall. However, the peak season in the fall has shifted a little bit from being traditionally September to November to October to December. So we are seeing more holiday traffic in the months of December in last year. And next, I want to draw your attention to the beginning of this year and last year. You see how close those trend lines look like between 2023 and 2024, which is in red. So those are the kind of signs we look for to affirm that our regional traffic is getting settled to the new normal. Another interesting fact, I think everybody probably knows this even before this chart. This is the level of the traffic we're seeing in our region by different day of the week. Typically, we have the highest traffic day in Friday, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are quite similar. Monday is the lowest work day in terms of the traffic, and the Saturday and the Sunday weekend traffic are significantly lower. So what's showing right here is 2017. That's how our region's traffic looked like in many, many years in the past. So this is 2019, the year right before the COVID. The next one is 2023 in green. So the weekday traffic pattern are still very similar across those different points. But when you look at the increase of the traffic on Saturday particularly, there's about 8 to 10% of increase on Saturday. So for example, me or maybe someone else, I think you probably experience some slowing down when you travel, on the freeway during Saturday and weekends lately. So in the next couple of slides, let's take a look at the congestions. What we do is we stack the average traffic condition of the first week in March over multiple years together. And we build this animation and trying to show you at a different time of the day, how does our regional traffic condition evolve since 2020? For example, this is showing multiple years at the time of 7:30 in the morning to represent our AM traffic. We do not see some significant changes. There are some really just minor changes in the morning traffic. Zooming in, I want to highlight 2 corridors. First is the I-10 eastbound between 101 and I-17. That particular corridor's traffic in the morning, the congestion has increased, but also on the US 60 westbound, the traffic congestion has decreased as we monitor in last year. We typically don't see any congestion in this region in the past during the noontime, which is from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., but we started to see them now, particularly on the freeways near Phoenix downtown, I-10, I-17, and Loop 202 westbound approaching the mini stack. we started to see there's more and more congestion happening on those segments. So same concept, let's move on to the PM at 5 o'clock. There are more changes. We want to notify you. Let's take a look at the details. 2020. In the center part of the valley, we see two bottlenecks emerged. First one is a TI transportation interchange between South Mountain 202 and the I-10. So the northbound of South Mountain and the westbound of I-10 at the PM, the congestion has gotten worse. Another bottleneck is at the Loop 101 and I-10 TI at the East Valley. However, need to mention there is a Proposition 400 funded improvement project to be placed to address this issue in next year. So those are the two new bottlenecks we monitor in the last few years. On the East Valley side, the Loop 202 Red Mountain eastbound, the congestion has decreased, as you can see. There's also a new bottleneck on I-10 southbound in the afternoon. If you travel on on I-17 southbound in the afternoon, if you travel on 17, you probably understand most of the congestion in the afternoon occurs on the northbound, but now we started to see the congestion to appear on the southbound of I-17 as well, particularly the 5 to 6 miles south of the interchange between I-17 and the Loop 101. So moving to the south part of the region, the I-10 on both directions between South Mountain 202 and the Rex Road has shown more traffic, more congestion. But there is a Proposition 400 funded projects to address that in the near future. And then the US 60 eastbound congestion, just consistent to the morning traffic on the US 60 westbound has gotten better. So after we visited so much information regarding the traffic volume is increasing, there's more trucks on the road, congestion is back. I hope these slides will try to ease your concern a little bit, because you may ask a question, for example, how do our region compare to other peer regions in terms of congestion? So there are different independent studies done by National Renowned Research Institute or third-party companies. They both rank Phoenix pretty high in terms of being one of the lowest travel time and the level of congestion region. And our region is also having the highest travel time reliabilities. For example, in travel time index, which the lower number means the less congestion, our ranking is higher than Houston, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. Or if you try to convert the congestion into dollar amount in terms of how much money you potentially waste as a driver sitting in the congestion, our cost of the delay is also one of the lowest as compared to peer regions. So to conclude this presentation, we will continue to connect all the necessary data to help us monitor the traffic trends and conditions. We'll try to inform the decision makers with the latest information, because we see this as a necessary information and a step to be implemented into our transportation planning process. So with that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any questions? A lot of information there. All right. Thank you very much for that information. Appreciate it. We'll now proceed to item 8. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion will be presented by Interim Environmental Director Matt Poppin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the MAG Management Committee. We're going to provide a brief update on PM 2.5, and then I'm going to call up MAG Chief of Staff Audra Kester-Thomas to talk about some ozone activities that are occurring. So as you may know, on February 7th, the EPA came out with a final new standard for fine particulates, what we call PM 2.5. EPA strengthened that standard, the annual standard, from a value of 12 down to a value of 9. So it's a pretty significant stringency increase. So within Maricopa County, there are currently 3 monitors that are violating the new annual standard. The highest monitor is located at the West Phoenix site at 10.5. And there's a couple other monitors in that same area as well that are above 10 currently. Within Pinal County, there is 1 monitor that is currently violating the standard, the Hidden Valley monitor at 12.4. So the primary sources of emission sources of PM 2.5 in our region are any combustion activity. So any activity that is caused by a fire or by vehicles or by engines or anything with an industrial smokestack. All of those things can contribute to 2.5. And then also in our region, any activity that disturbs the desert soils, whether that be construction or agricultural activities or driving on unpaved roads, all of those things can contribute to a PM 2.5 as well. And then in the wintertime, a lot of us are very aware that we can get very high spikes in PM 2.5 due to residential wood burning and consumer fireworks activities. Our highest values of the year are recorded in this period. For example, on January 1st of this year, the West Phoenix recorded a value of 180, which was one of the highest values we've ever recorded, which is obviously almost 20 times over the standard.
So that's a really important point. So just say that again, because that went by kind of fast. The standard today is what?
Is 9.
Is 9. Yeah, the standard was just moved from what to what?
From 12 to 9.
12 to 9. And on January 1st, 2024, the monitor showed
180
180
for the 24-hour.
And what you surmise about that is what, Matt? Where does that come from?
Yeah, it's a combination of 2 sources, primarily the consumer fireworks and then the residential wood burning. Then, of course, in the winter, we know that the inversion layer, right, that contributes to increased PM 2.5 concentrations because the weather traps all those pollutions a lot closer to the ground than what occurs in the spring and summer.
And so you said it earlier, but so if you have a one day at 180, how do you get to 9 on an average?
Yeah, I mean, you would need several days, you would need close to 20 days of 0 to get you back down to that 9 average overall. So
we're never at 0.
We're never at 0. See, our lowest values are around 5 to 6 on our lowest days.
So it's important because this has an impact on regulations that the county's going to have to implement. But we've all kind of gotten used to no burn days because this region really did a great job on PM 10. Now we're at PM 2.5, which is really dependent in the winter on wood burning and fireworks. Those 2 things really, really, really affect us here. And so as we move forward, we're going to have to talk more seriously about those 2 issues that Jen and her board are going to have a lot of fun dealing with on behalf.
So there's a couple important dates upcoming that I want to make you aware of. First of all, by February 7th of next year, states and native nations must submit recommendations to EPA on the areas within Arizona that should be designated as non-attainment or attainment, or if there's not monitors available on unclassifiable. The agency responsible for this process is the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. They're responsible for developing the technical reasons for how big those non-attainment areas should be. They submit those recommendations to the governor, and then the governor submits those to EPA for consideration. This is a public process, so there'll be opportunity to comment on ADEQ's recommendations as well. And then after that, within a year of receiving those recommendations, the EPA issues their initial designations in terms of which areas are attainment and non-attainment area. Currently, EPA is stating that they believe the monitoring data they will use to make those designations will be based on the year 2022 through 2024. It's a 3-year average that they use. So most likely those monitors that I showed earlier on the map will still be in violation based on that data from the trends we are currently seeing. So we most likely will have some new non-attainment areas that we'll have to do planning activities for. Any new non-attainment area that is created will be designated moderate by EPA. You are given 6 years to attain, so the attainment date will most likely be 2032. Once EPA comes out with those designations, MAG will have 18 months to prepare a plan to submit to EPA that demonstrates how that standard can be met by that attainment date. And so what's included in those plans, just kind of briefly, the development of an emissions inventory. This is a really critical piece of the plan, right? Because it really helps determine what are those specific sources that are contributing to the exceedances, to the violation within the new non-attainment area. MAG will do an evaluation of available control measures that are out there for consideration by implementing entities, whether that be the county or the state. There has to be a demonstration that we can attain the standard by that 2032 date, whether that be through modeling or emissions inventories exercises. And then if you don't meet the standard by the attainment date, you have to have a set of measures, what we call contingency measures, set aside, waiting to be implemented right away if you fail to meet that attainment date. One other thing I would mention, it's not on the slide, transportation conformity requirements as well will be triggered by new non-attainment areas. So that'll be another thing MAG will have to participate in. So that concludes my presentation on PM 2.5. If there are any questions on that.
Any questions? Yes.
Thank you for your presentation. It's very interesting. I'm just interested. You said on January 1st it was 180 and the standard is now 9. It takes a few days to get the average back down. What would it have been back, like, say, January 10th? You talk about fireworks and people burning, obviously, wood fires.
Right.
I just can't imagine there's that many people using wood for fires in Phoenix. It's just not that cold. So I'm just wondering how much of that is fireworks and how much of it is fireplaces. Obviously, for January 1st, you're talking about fireworks, celebrations, etc. I mean, do we think it's like 90% fireworks for holidays? Do you have any idea how much of it is fireworks versus wood fires?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the MAG Management Committee, I don't have those specific ratios available for you. I know Maricopa County Air Quality Department has done speciation studies during the holiday season where they're able to kind of identify the percentages that are linked to wood burning and the percentages that are linked to consumer fireworks. Obviously, the two big fireworks day are January 1st. That's the biggest one, of course, and they're less prevalent on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. There's some, but it's much less prevalent. It's almost mostly that New Year's Day. The other days, I would generally say the wood burning is higher as in terms of a component, but we can try and get you that specific information to know those breakdowns. And then in terms of the regular season, we certainly do see higher concentrations in general throughout the fall and winter because of that inversion effect. It just traps the pollution lower. But again, I think it will be important to do more of these speciation studies where we really we take a look at that particle, we run it through a chemical analyzer, and it tells us, is it from a vehicle? Is it from a fireplace? Is it from dust from the soil? Those type of things will be important to when you start to evaluate the control measures that would be part of a plan.
And please forgive me if I'm simplifying this, but when we talk about a standard of 9, I would assume it would be an average of 9 or less throughout the year.
Correct.
But obviously a day of 180 is way going to skew that. So I mean, how long do you get to be over? Is it just an average of 9 throughout the year, or are there certain factors, or?
It's your annual average. So the way the standard works is you have a 24-hour average every day. And so all 365 of those are averaged. If that average is 9 or less, you meet the standard. So what we see definitely is when you break it down by quarters, spring fall and winter are roughly have an average of about 15 to 11, whereas spring and summer have an average of about 7 to 9. So that can help you. But you do get varying spikes throughout the year, whether it be through dust storms or other activities, just weather activities. It is, but you certainly see very, very much higher concentrations in the fall and winter period.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very
I'll invite
helpful.
Audra up.
I think I actually understood this presentation, Audra. Well, thank you.
That was a win.
Chairman Brady, members of Management Committee, I just wanted to also brief you on our ongoing conversations with the EPA as it relates to probably our most imminent issue related to air quality, and that is ozone attainment. You'll recall back in the fall, in September, Chairwoman Gallego of MAG Regional Council was joined by then Chairman Hickman of Maricopa County in a meeting with then interim Assistant Administrator Goffman, who's the highest official in air quality at the EPA, to discuss our challenges in addressing ozone attainment. That was a really successful meeting, and one of the asks of our elected officials was that Mr. Goffman come out to the region and understand the implications associated with the challenges of this region in meeting attainment for ozone, especially as it relates to economic development and activities in our growing economy here, especially in the industry sectors that help drive more sustainable outcomes, especially in microchip, electric vehicle manufacturing, and battery efforts. And as part of his confirmation process earlier this year, Senator Sinema and Kelly were able to help shepherd that actual visit invitation to fruition. And Mr. Goffman is, I believe, on his way today, right now, to the region for a multi-day visit to better understand the implications associated with attempting to reach the ozone standard. He will be taking a helicopter tour, as I understand, later this evening to better understand our large region and also to see the economic growth. Tomorrow, there'll be several audiences, including that with the Arizona Chamber and members of the business community, including GPEC. There'll be a meeting with utilities. And then at the end of the day, Maricopa County and MAG will have an audience with Mr. Goffman to reinforce the points that we made last fall, and then to ask for some commitments and assistance in partnership. Chairwoman Gallego, as MAG Regional Council Chair, will be joined by Chairman Sellers of Maricopa County tomorrow afternoon, as well as other members of staff, to be able to articulate the needs that we have to be good partners with the EPA in our efforts towards attainment. And so wanted to provide that update to all of you, understanding that some of you are heading off to Washington, D.C. next week, and your staff. We provided some talking points, and we'll be briefing on the outcomes of that meeting tomorrow afternoon. We understand Mr. Goffman then has audience with the governor and governor's staff Friday, including with the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. I can report that MAG, in partnership with MAG and ADEQ, have been working closely together over the course of the last several weeks as we prepare for this really unique opportunity to have a conversation, but also depict not only our good work over the last 30 and 40 years towards air quality in this region, but also how we are home to such impressive economic development, specifically as it relates to some of the same solutions that will help deliver for ozone in the future, and help to understand why sanctioning the solution isn't the path forward. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much. All right, we'll proceed to item number 9, Executive Director's Report. Mr. Zerker?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just very quickly, a few things have been happening. First, as part of our transportation effort here at MAG, we work with adults and Disability Transportation Center, the National Aging and Disability Transportation Center, which has highlighted the Age Friendly Arizona work in a toolkit to coordinate human services transportation. Many of your agencies participate in this. MAG's work was presented earlier this month in Oklahoma by Amy St. Peter, and so it's seen as a national model. Next, we have just to update on the continuum of care, which is the place where homelessness funding comes to the region. It is hosted here at MAG, although it's not specifically a MAG committee. It is independent, but our staff does work with it and staff it. The good news is that the region will receive an additional $10 million of unexpected funding this next year. We don't know if that's an ongoing trend or if that's a one-time bump. We're going to treat it as a one-time as we allocate as the continuum of care allocates the funds. So more than $46 million for 26 housing programs, 2 coordinated entry projects, the homeless management information system, and other planning efforts. And we just think it reflects conversations that have been going on over the years in Washington, D.C. about what's happening in the housing market here in Arizona. And finally, just an update on a project. So our town of Florence is getting a dual roundabout. This is the result of their membership in MAG, but also the creation of the Pinal County Arterial Bridge Program. And so in Florence, almost $9 million of federal funds is going to design, purchase right away, and construct a dual roundabout to help at 287 and 79B. And that's going to happen this summer. So with that, Mr. Chair, that's my report.
Thank you. We're ready for item number 10, legislative update. Audra?
Thank you, Chairman Brady, members of Management Committee. Just a few things on legislative update. There's a delegation that leaves this week for an international trip, but work still remains at the legislature and activity continues. I just want to provide just a few brief updates on a few bills that we have been following. Yesterday, House Bill 2782 regarding homeless services and drug-free zones was amended on the floor, but ultimately failed on third read. Representative Grass, the bill sponsor, however, has motioned to reconsider the bill, so we will continue to track this item. Also yesterday, House Continuing Resolution 2050, a proposed constitutional amendment that would prohibit any governmental entity from restricting the manufacturing or sale of any device based on fuel source, did pass out of the House. This is a similar provision, statutory provision that was included in Senate Bill 1102, or what we refer to as enabling legislation, last year. This bill has been transmitted to the Senate for consideration. In action last week, Senate Bill 1010, a bill relating to prohibiting vehicle miles traveled reduction goals, tracking and preemptive prohibition on future fee or tax-based options, failed in Senate on its third read. Two bills, Senate Bill 2545 and 2546, passed out of the House that would exempt any model year 2018 or newer vehicle from emissions inspections. This has implications for air quality planning and attainment work, including to the state improvement plan. These bills await action now in the Senate. And then finally, the House passed 2037, a clean 8-year extension of ADOT. This bill now awaits consideration by the Senate. As you will recall, MAG supports a clean continuation of ADOT, free of new policy provisions or constraints for the work of either the department or, of course, the implementation of MAG's implementation plan, and we will continue work to this end. Chairman Brady, that completes my presentation.
Audrey, would you just describe what is the companion bill in the Senate, though, that we have concerns about?
Correct.
On ADOT?
Yes, Chairman Brady, members of Management Committee, Mr. Zerker. There is a companion bill that has made it out of Senate committee. This is Senate Bill 1184. This, in contrast to the House bill, has significant measures attached to it that are policy related, several of which MAG was and has been successful in years past in being prevented to add to enabling legislation. These include prohibition of reduction of existing lane miles on state highways, regardless of safety, engineering, or operational needs, preventing ADOT from considering ways to reduce vehicle miles traveled, preventing ADOT from building or maintaining public charging infrastructure, thus risking federal funding that's Arizona's fair share, banning pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorcyclists from use of any part of a controlled access to highway, prohibiting considerations to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, or developing a carbon reduction plan, and another risk to federal funding for which would otherwise come to Arizona, preventing potential expansion of intercity rail, including efforts including Amtrak between Phoenix and Tucson.
Oh, no problem. Wow.
And only giving Jen 2 more years instead of 8.
And an only 2-year extension to boot. Yeah.
Sounds fun. Thank you. We had to end on that. Jeez.
I was ending on a much more positive.
Yeah,
note.
Ed did it. All right, thank you. Any questions? All right. We got item 11. And let me just throw this out. And I'd like members of the committee, if you're interested, to let me know if you would like this to be somewhere on an agenda. Maybe we talk to Meg about. So as we completed our review of the 911 systems, one of the things I've come to realize is that many of our 911 systems are being used as a 311 system, right? For many calls that come into your 911, For us, it was over 60%. I don't know what it's like for the rest of you. I guess I would be interested if there are interest from the communities to be discussing a real 311 system in our region. So let me know. And if that's the case, then I would get back to BAG and we'd have that discussion. But it is, if you go and talk to your 911, your PSAPs, I suspect we're not unique, that there's a lot of non-emergency calls coming into your system because we've done such a great job of telling people what to call if they have an emergency or they just don't know what else to call. They call 911. So let me know, and then maybe we could put that on a list of things to talk about in the future. All right. Anyone else? Future agenda items? All right. Any comments from the committee? If not, sorry. Oh,
I have one. I just want to announce that the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community just signed a program agreement with the Federal Highway Administration for a $50 million grant for Pima Road. That is on the Prop 400 MAG ALCP, and it's been underfunded. And so it's a joint project between the city of Scottsdale and the community. And so the community a few years ago went after grant funds for the nationally significant federal lands and tribal projects program. It's very similar to the BUILD grant, but it's limited to federal and tribes. So we kind of got rid of a bunch of the competition and we were successful in receiving those funds. So we are very excited that the Pima Road will be going to construction in a few months. We'll be bidding it out soon. We were waiting for that program agreement to be signed before we could move forward. So very, very exciting, and grateful to MAG as a project partner, funding partner, and the Maricopa County Flood Control District, because it does have a regional drainage portion of the project. So very exciting, and we're excited to move forward. If you drive in that area, then try to avoid Pima Road. It'll be under construction for 2 years.
And just to add that, Mr. Chair, the arterial life cycle program money from the half-cent sales tax in 400 is the match that was used to get the $50 million. So it was, as Jennifer said, it was a great partnership.
leverage. Good. Yes, Brian.
I see Ben from Maricopa. Did I see something that you're going to be the new manager sometime? And when is that?
To be determined? Or is there a
I
date?
thought I saw something change.
April 1st.
Oh, okay. Wait. April 1st?
Yeah.
Man. Congratulations. What's that? Oh, yeah. And I think we recognized Grady last time, although he wasn't on. But Grady, congratulations to your new appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. I'm very glad to be back in the fold again.
Good. Anyone else? All right. Our next meeting of the MAG Management Committee will be on Wednesday, April 10th at noon. So no further business today.